Hello, everybody. Welcome to Clutch Talk 101. Today we're going to be doing week three parlay building, same game parlays. Uh, Looks like a pretty good week for a few of those games. I also have a couple games you might want to stay away of just because of lack of offense. Um, when you build parlays with individual players and money lines and touchdown scorers, usually you want a game that has bad defense on both sides. Be that because that means they're going to be 100% with their offense the whole time. If you got a one-sided matchup and you think one team's going to blow another team out, don't expect their usual game plan on both sides. The team that's getting blown out is going to be passing the whole game and playing desperation ball. The other team is going to be running that clock out. So uh, let's say the Panthers Saints. It's not going to be a blowout, but let's say it's a blowout, and the Saints are up a ton. Um, that means none of Carolina's running backs are going to do anything, and the Saints are going to run the ball the whole time. So you usually look for games that have people that have suspect defense. I'm going to go through each game this week, and uh, I'm going to go over whether it's worth building a parlay for or not. Thursday night, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. Um, Kind of a game you might want to stay away from if you're trying to build a parlay. They're evenly matched, but they both have pretty good defenses. If I were to put anything together, um, it would be a Najee Harris touchdown along with some minimal yards. I would say like 50 or 60 rushing, and maybe you could throw Nick Chubb in there as well. Um, he's been on fire, but I wouldn't go over 100 yards for him. Pittsburgh has a great run defense. So if you were to build a parlay, I would include Najee Harris and Nick Chubb, but both their quarterbacks are suspect, which makes their receivers suspect as well. The only receiver I would even touch on that game would maybe be Pat Fryermuth for the tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, maybe for like 25 yards. I wouldn't give him a touchdown or anything like that. I would definitely probably stay away from this game. On Sunday, New Orleans Saints at Carolina Panthers. So this game I think is pretty evenly matched, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of fireworks. Offensively, the Saints have not looked that good. Michael Thomas has kind of reinvigorated his career, and I think that maybe if you were to build a parlay with this game, you would include Michael Thomas, maybe for like 50 yards and a touchdown. Again, you can do this on sports books if you go to same game parlay, and they might not have them up yet, but they should tomorrow, at least for the third Thursday game. When you go to same game parlay, you'll have alternative passing yards, Kyler Murray, alternative rushing yards, Le'Veon Bell, alternative receiving yards. You'll have all the players that will, and then you could click 200 plus, 225 plus, 250 plus. As for the running backs and receivers, just 25 yards plus, 30 or 40, and then 50, 60, 80. And the more yards you bet on, the more money you can get, but it becomes harder to hit. So as for this game, I would if you're gonna do it, I would say Michael Thomas and maybe DJ Moore, but I would definitely stay away from Christian McCaffrey. He hasn't done much, and they're going up. Saints are have a great defense, and yeah, so that's kind of a game I would stay away from. Then we got the Houston Texans going up against the Chicago Bears. I'm not gonna lie, I would completely stay away from this game. There's absolutely no weapons. You have no idea who's gonna score for either team. That is a game I would stay away from. I think they're evenly matched. They're both on the kind of the bottom of the barrel of the league. Uh, Kansas City at Indianapolis. This game, I think it being at Indy, I think Indy will kind of snap back from last week, but by no means do I think they're going to beat Kansas City. Um, if you were to put a parlay together on this one, I'd probably do Mahomes for 250 plus passing yards. Um, Jonathan Taylor for maybe 70 plus because he didn't get the rock a lot last game. So I wouldn't go big on Jonathan Taylor until he has another prove it game because it seems like their play calling is not allowing him to get the ball. I would put passing yards on Patrick Mahomes, touchdown score with Jonathan Taylor, and I would do Travis Kelce as well. Maybe put 60 yards for Travis Kelce and a touchdown, and Jonathan Taylor for 70 plus, maybe a touchdown as well for him to boost your odds. You can also do 2+ touchdowns for players and 3+ touchdowns. And when you do an anytime touchdown score, if you pick a quarterback, it has to be a rushing. You can't bet on the anytime touchdown score. It has to be rushing for a quarterback. So like let's say I picked Matt Ryan in that game for anytime touchdown score. I never would, but that means he would have to run in a touchdown in order for you to hit that leg on that parlay. Uh, Next, we got the Buffalo Bills against the Miami Dolphins. This is a really intriguing matchup. One of the few games I'm really eyeing to put some money on. Miami last week had a incredible week. Buffalo's on fire. These two teams are both kind of on fire. They're in the same division. It's at Miami. If it was at Buffalo, I would probably think Buffalo would beat them pretty handedly, but given that it's at Miami, I think this game will be very even. And Buffalo's defense is good, but after what I saw last week, I think Tua is going to be able to push the ball down the field again. Um, if you want to do like more of a conservative parlay, I would put Diggs at 70 plus and a touchdown, Hill and Waddle 70 plus and a touchdown because they both have multiple touchdowns this season. I also would plug in Mostert in there. Mostert looked really good last week. Raheem Mostert, I would put him in for maybe 40 rushing yards to boost those odds a little bit. When it comes to the money line, I would pick Miami, probably because they're probably going to be the underdogs, and that will put more money into your bet. But um, it's going to be an even game. It wouldn't surprise me if either team won. Um, but if you want to go a little risky, honestly, what I might be doing is having a two touchdown game out of either Diggs or Waddle. Most likely a 2 touchdown game out of Stephon Diggs. A touchdown apiece for Hill and Waddle. I would put them all at 90 plus receiving yards. And I would put 40 or 50 rushing yards for Raheem Mostert. And if you want to add in another anytime touchdown score, I would either do Josh Allen for rushing it in, or I would do Gesicki for the Miami Dolphins, a tight end. He got a touchdown last game as well. They're including him in the offense quite a bit, and they got a pretty explosive offense. So that would be definitely a game I would definitely look at those players that I had mentioned. Next, we got Detroit at Minnesota. This game probably should be a little bit of a shootout. I know I had Justin Jefferson last week in some parlays, but I was kind of skeptical of it because they were at Philly, and Minnesota is not very good away. They are great at home, a lot like the New Orleans Saints. So they're at home today this weekend, and they're playing Detroit. So I think Justin Jefferson's going to make some noise. I think Thielen's going to make some noise. Dalvin Cook hasn't done a whole lot this year, but I think he might get the ball rolling with this one if they have an early lead. DeAndre Swift has done great every game, but these past opening 2 weeks, if I were to put money on this game, which I am going to, the players I would include are DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown, a receiver for the Detroit Lions, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook. Anytime touchdown scores, I would do Justin Jefferson, and I'd do DeAndre Swift and Justin Jefferson for the anytime touchdown. For yardage, I would do DeAndre Swift to get 70 plus. For Minnesota, I would have Justin Jefferson getting 80 plus and Adam Thielen getting 50 plus. And then I would have Dalvin Cook getting 40 plus rushing yards just because he hasn't quite had a big game this season quite yet. So I would just lay on the safe side, but they're still going to feed him the ball, so I think he's worth putting in there. I think you could put Kirk Cousins in there for 200 plus passing yards. That's kind of 50-50 because he did have a bad game last game, but given it being Detroit and they're at home, I fully expect them to bounce back. Uh, Baltimore at New England. I avoid any game that the Patriots are in. Um, their defense is great, and they play keep away. They literally play keep away ball. They try to limit how much the other team has the ball. They try to limit the opponent's time of possession, and the only player that would be worth even putting in the parlay of anything would be Lamar Jackson. That's it. So I will completely avoid this game, given that there's really no playmakers and New England's defense and the way they play football, and it's at New England as well. So Lamar may struggle. Cincinnati at New York. Uh, this might be an interesting one because Cincinnati's defense has not looked good, and they've been turning the ball over. And the Jets are coming off a great game. Uh, I think that this might be worth putting a little bit of money into. I think that you could have Joe. I wouldn't quite do anything with Joe Mixon. Maybe 25 rushing yards, but like their offensive line cannot block. The one thing that is sure thing about the Bengals this year, they are still going to Jamar Chase. So, given it being the Jets, I think you should put about 70 yards and a touchdown for Jamar Chase. And for each running back for the Jets, you could put 25 plus rushing yards or 40 with one and 25 with another. And I would put Breece Hall for a touchdown on this one. Anytime touchdown scorer, Jamar Chase and Breece Hall. And then put a money line in there, and it might not be a bad bet. So if you pick a team to win, and then put those Jamar Chase and Breece Hall and the other running back for the Jets, Michael Carter, Breece Hall, and Jamar Chase in a parlay with a money line might not be a bad bet. Uh, Las Vegas Raiders at the Tennessee Titans. I think that Tennessee, the only player really worth putting in any parlays right now is Derrick Henry. He's literally the only weapon they got right now. I like Traylon Burks, their rookie receiver, but he hasn't shown much. I think Tannehill is on the verge of getting benched. I think last game I think it's been in his head ever since they drafted Malik Willis, and he hasn't played the same. And when you're not running the same type of offense that he was succeeding in, they're trying to pass the ball first and run second. It's not how Ryan Tannehill goes. He's very much he relies on a good defense and a running game, play action passes and stuff like that. I think that the Raiders will win this one. Um, so you could honestly do a money line with Devontae. I would do Devontae Adams for the Raiders, having 70, or I would do 60 plus because that's because he was kind of shut out last game. 50 yards or 60 yards for Devontae Adams. Darren Waller I would have for 25 receiving yards. Josh Jacob for 50 rushing yards. And then I would do Derrick Henry with 50 or 60 rushing yards just because I think he would have more, but I think they're going to be playing from behind again. Um, Maybe 70 because they may play close. So 50 to 70 rushing yards for Derrick Henry. Anytime touchdown score, I definitely would do Derrick Henry, and I would push for Jacobs or Devontae or both, depending on how risky you want to put it. Um, so yeah, you could do Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry, all for some 50 to 70 yards, right in that range. I wouldn't go with Josh Jacobs over 60 um, because his yards per attempt aren't the greatest, but he's still getting the ball. But anytime touchdown score, Devontae, Josh Jacobs, and Derrick Henry, I think, are the best options for that game. Coming up after that, we got Philadelphia Eagles at Washington Commanders. This game might be high scoring, so this would be a game to eye for sure. Devontae Smith finally showed his worth. last week after having a bad opening week because they went to AJ Brown every play. Given that this is Washington, honestly, I would go heavy on the Philadelphia Eagles. I would put 60 or 70 yards for Devontae Smith. I would do 60 or 70 yards and a touchdown for AJ Brown. And for Washington, uh, I like Jahan Dotson, but he hasn't really moved up the roster ladder yet. Um, the only really sure bet maybe would be Gibson or maybe McLaurin, but either one of those for maybe 50 plus receiving or rushing, and I would put a anytime touchdown on either one of those. I would probably say um, Gibson has a better chance of getting a touchdown out of that one. So Gibson for anytime touchdown, but AJ Brown for anytime touchdown and 70 yards, and Devontae Smith for 70 yards as well. I think Miles Sanders might do some damage too, so maybe put him as for like 40 yards rushing and 25 yards receiving. Uh, I would probably stay away from the money line just because it's at Washington. It might be a close game. But if you were to pick anybody, obviously it would be Philadelphia. You could throw that in there to make your odds higher, so your payout's a little better. Uh, Coming up, we got the 3 o'clock games: Jacksonville Jaguars at the Los Angeles Chargers. This will be a good one, I think. Jacksonville has shown a lot of promise this year. Christian Kirk's looking like he's worth the money. He's a player I would put in a parlay. I would have Christian Kirk for 60 yards and a touchdown. I would have not Etienne, but their starting running back right now. Uh, I think is very underrated, and I think he could get a touchdown as well. Uh, as for the Chargers, I think that Eckler is kind of having an off year this year. So I think that he wouldn't be a very good player for this one. But I think Mike Williams you could put for probably 60 yards or 70 yards. And I like their tight end Gerald Everett. I would give Gerald Everett 40 yards and a anytime touchdown score. I would give Mike Williams medium yards like 60 or 70. Mike Williams receiver for the Chargers and Jaguars. I would do David Robinson, uh, James Robinson, anytime touchdown score, maybe 40 yards rushing, and then Etienne maybe 25 yards rushing, maybe 40. They split the ball, but Robinson's been getting the goal line carries. And then Christian Kirk, I definitely would do an anytime touchdown, and 60, 70 plus. They've been going to him a lot. And so I think Christian Kirk, anytime touchdown, Robinson, anytime touchdown, Gerald Everett, anytime touchdown, Mike Williams with some yards, Travis Etienne, running back for the Jaguars, minimal yards. Maybe you could put Eckler in there for minimal yards, but I wouldn't put anytime touchdown for Eckler because he looks off this year, and I don't think their offense is going to flourish the way people think that they are. Atlanta and Seattle, I would completely stay away from this game. They're the only player that's worth mentioning, honestly, offensively, is Cordarrelle Patterson. But other than that, I mean, DK Metcalf, he's a great receiver, but nobody can get the ball to him. So I would definitely stay away from this game. Green Bay at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Uh, Mike Evans is going to be out this game. So this may open the door for either Julio Jones or Chris Godwin. I think he's a big time sleeper this week. Um, they've been involving him already with Mike Evans in the lineup. And with him gone, he's literally going to be taking over his role. The jump balls, number one routes. Julio's still got good feet, and he can still run routes and get separation. Green Bay, it's hard to find a receiver for them. If you're going to bet on any, I think Tunyon next, Allen Lazard. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think that's going to be their main focus throughout the year is running the ball. So for this game, this might be a little complicated, but I think this parlay will work. Uh, Aaron Jones runs for 50. AJ Dillon for 25. Just because they kind of have a good run defense, but they are going to be running the ball. So 50 for Aaron Jones, 25 for AJ Dillon. I think you could give an anytime touchdown to either Tunyon or Alan Lazard, and an anytime touchdown for AJ Dillon. I think AJ Dillon might get a goal line carry. It's kind of a toss up between Aaron Jones because Aaron Jones got a touchdown last week, but given that it's a tougher defense, I think they're going to be having short goal line carries on the goal line. So for me personally, I'll go AJ Dillon anytime touchdown score, and Lazard or Tunyon. Personally, I will go with Tunyon. I will go Tunyon, Tunyon touchdown, AJ Dillon touchdown, and if you want to make a risky bet, Julio Jones for a touchdown. I think Julio Jones is going to be good for 70 yards or 80 yards and a touchdown this week. Chris Godwin might get you 40. He's been kind of inconsistent, um, but with Mike Evans being out, who knows? He might have a big game. So I would at least include him. And so yeah, the players I would include are Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, AJ Dillon, Aaron Jones, and Robert Tonyan. Maybe Alan Lazard. But when it comes to touchdowns, I think the Bruisers are going to get it this week. The big guys: Julio Jones, AJ Dillon, Robert Tonyan. Um, I wouldn't go for any particular passing yards. Maybe 200 plus passing yards for Tom Brady, but Tampa Bay's defense is really tough, so I wouldn't risk it with any yardage parlays with Aaron Rodgers. So I think the main guys will score this game. Those guys that I mentioned, but I think there's going to be not a whole lot of yards. I think they're going to be fighting for every inch. Then the night game, San Francisco at Denver. To be honest, I think me being a Denver Broncos fan, I think this you need to stay away from this game too. It being a prime time, people probably looking forward to this game. A lot of 49er fans, a lot of Bronco fans. Uh, I think that this game you need to stay away from. I think it's going to be low scoring. Um, their Broncos coaching has not been dialing up the right plays and looked like a mess on the field. Very, very poor execution this year for the Broncos. And Jerry Jeudy, I believe, might be out one more game. If Jerry Judy's out, I don't foresee any Bronco. Maybe their tight end Albert Aquam Jabium, I believe his name is. It's hard to pronounce, but um, Broncos tight end might get something. Kittle's I think questionable, and if he does play, I mean they got Jimmy G playing. They're probably going to run the ball a lot too. Um, so I might go if I were to do anything with this game, it would be the Broncos tight end to get maybe 25 or 40 yards receiving. I would go Javante for 60 or 70 plus rushing yards, and I would have either Eli Mitchell or George Kittle for a touchdown. If George Kittle's not playing, I would do Eli Mitchell. I think they're going to lean heavy on that running game. I don't think they're going to get any passing off. The Broncos pass D, the only good thing about their defense. I think they'll stop the weak receiving core in the 49ers, so I wouldn't go with any receivers for the 49ers. But if Jerry Judy's playing, I would include him. I would maybe make him a 40 plus receiving yards, and their tight end, Albert, you'll see it. It's a long last name. I wouldn't do anything with Russ so far. He hasn't proved me anything, so I would definitely stay away from him. And Monday night is Dallas at New York. It would be another game I would probably stay away from. If you were to pick any players from that game, to be honest, I would do two running backs, and that's it, and the money line. So like in a Monday night game, I would pick uh, Saquon to go for like it being Dallas. I Saquon to go maybe 90 plus yards rushing and a touchdown. Maybe you could do two if you're feeling greedy. One or two touchdowns out of Saquon, 90 yards rushing, and then Dallas. I would stay away from Zeke, and I would do something with Tony Pollard. He got a touchdown last week, I believe, but He's normally not the goal line back, but so I would just do rushing yards with Tony. I would have him for like 60 plus rushing yards, Saquon for 90 plus and a touchdown, and then do the money line. I don't think CeeDee Lamb's going to do anything. New York Giants receivers are complete trash. So, yeah, that would be a game mostly I would stay away from. But if you want to bet on it, those are the players I suggest. If you have any questions on who you want to bet and put in parlays or anything like that, go ahead and leave comments on this video, and I'll respond as soon as I can. I'm posting videos daily, so I check this out very, very frequently. So if you have any questions for me, go ahead and leave a comment.